Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Chats with Yvonne. I'm so excited for today's guest. You may know her as Latinas with Masters, and I'll have her introduce herself in a bit. But today's topic is all about, again, public speaking, my favorite ever, and everything that we talk about on this platform. But this time, we're focusing a little bit more on how public speaking can really open up doors and create opportunities for yourself and for your communities. And I'm really excited for our guest today because that's exactly what she's been able to do. She creates community for not only herself, but for everyone around her. And I think it's so incredibly powerful to watch her work. So, with that being said, let's just get right into it. Christina, how are you?
Good. How are you, Yvonne? Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for everybody to hear about all the things that you have going on, and in particular, how public speaking has really opened or created doors for you. We really want to understand your journey in that way. But before we get into that, I'd love to have you introduce yourself. I always say introduce yourself in the way that you'd like. It doesn't have to be tied to your career, to anything. It's just who are you? We want to get to know you.
Well, thank you so much. My name is Christina Rodriguez. I am the founder of Latinas with Masters. And just like Yvonne said, I like to introduce myself as I'm your marketing homegirl, I'm your academic homegirl, I'm your education homegirl, I am your homegirl. So, just like how Yvonne and I are navigating college as first generation Latinos, we're also here to assist you with all types of resources and toolkits when it comes to public speaking, applying to graduate school, or even if you want some, marketing tips from a future MBA and an MBA, we're here to help you guys. So thank you so much for creating this platform for us.
No, of course. And thank you for being a part of it. If you haven't already, I'll just do a quick plug. Go check out Latinas with Masters and all the other platforms that she has going on. And with that being said, I'd love to jump into my first question, which is what is your relationship with public speaking? As it currently stands, how do you feel about public speaking?
Well, definitely after watching Yvonne and all of her tips with Chats with Yvonne, I feel more comfortable, to be honest with you, and I'm more conscious with me saying the filler words of ands, and I feel comfortable pausing when I need to have a transition word or when I'm thinking about something. And so it's something that I'm now conscious about. But it was a long journey, like you said. It doesn't happen overnight. And when thinking about the public speaking events that I've had in college, it was very raw. It was very, this is who I am, I'm in your face, and very Bay Area talk, right? And then as I got older and navigating, higher education and different types of working environments, I had to learn how to code switch and I had to learn how to use certain type of vocabulary, my tone, the way I communicated information for me to get my message across and not look like an angry Latina woman, but then also look like an educated woman that's able to navigate different type of scenarios under pressure, which is where sometimes we fall behind, right? When there's a crisis, we go into panic mode and sometimes we don't know how to communicate a particular message. And so I feel that the experiences that I've had in both college and in business has allowed me to reevaluate the way that I uh, express communication.
And you point to something which I think is so relatable to a lot of us, right? Which is when we are public speaking or when we go in front of different crowds for whatever it is, right? We feel the need to code switch, and in many times we have to get our point across. So one of the things that I get asked a lot, or that I try to practice often myself, is authenticity, right? You start from a place of this is who I am. I'm just going to talk the way that I would normally talk, which is great. Like we should be in spaces that allow for that, right? And unfortunately sometimes we're not, and or
Mhm.
fortunately, unfortunately, whatever the case is, your audiences vary, and so the way that they will want you to communicate with them varies. So how do you maintain authenticity in who you are and how you present yourself when you're public speaking? I know that you do a lot of workshops, and you kind of do it all, right? So how do you make sure that you are communicating effectively while also being true to who you are and using that Bay Area language?
Absolutely. As a marketer, we're always conscious about who our target audience is, who's our audience, right? We're doing all this consumer research. And so something that I've learned along the way is when I was performing or when I do education workshops at community colleges, I would go in very proper using housing lingo and this is the way that we are and feel free to look at the website. And I'm a person that I read people's energy and I feel the energy and I'm looking at them and they're not feeling my vibe. And so I switched it up and I started to talk and use words that they're more familiar with. And as soon as I provided that authenticity, when I started to feel, we're at a place where it doesn't feel intimidated with the information that they're getting, that's when I said, okay, so this is where I need to start off. And so the next workshop, I was able to adjust my presentation style. And then, like you said, code switch. There's going to be times where, yes, I will have to use vocabulary words and terminology that there's only one way, right, to say it, but I can provide scenarios that are more relatable towards my audience. And so you're always when you have speaking engagements, it gives you those opportunities to again reevaluate what went wrong, went right, and then using those wins, those small wins for the next presentation.
Yeah, I love that. And because that's all about meeting our people where they are so that we can communicate with them, right? And so my next question has to do with how we meet ourselves where we are. One of the things that I think everyone will struggle with forever, right, is confidence. So
Mhm.
in those moments, where you're maybe not feeling as confident, or do you not feel as confident sometimes, how do you get over that? What steps do you take to feel more confident in whatever it is that you're doing at the time, particularly relating to public speaking?
I feel that confidence comes in different levels, right? It comes in the way that we feel, the way that we are, the way that our mindset is. It comes the way that we sometimes look at ourselves. And so I feel that how I overcome confidence when I do speaking engagements is I wear something that is it's favorite to me, a favorite necklace, a shirt, my lipstick, right? And it's the first thing that people will say to me, "Oh, I love your lipstick. Oh, I love your hair. I love your necklace." And so that already is a confidence booster because now I'm seeing, okay, they're noticing me, something about my energy or my appearance, they're now taking a part of. So now let me get their attention with the message or the presentation that I am about to present. And so I've noticed that when I approach my confidence through that lens, then I feel a lot better about myself. And then I no longer need to worry about what I'm going to wear because then I know that my content is getting across the right audience.
Yeah, totally. It's about creating that comfort level and almost breaking the ice, both comfort level
Mhm.
with you and the audience with you. Because I
Exactly.
definitely feel that when you're able to break the ice between, because maybe you're just nervous, or maybe the other people, they're not even thinking about it, right? Your audience isn't even thinking about how nervous you are. But having that initial contact with them really breaks the ice and makes you feel a little bit more comfortable, even without them knowing it. They've already done that for you. So I love
Exactly.
that you said that. And so, as a Latina with masters, career oriented individual, a mother, why is public speaking so important in all of these different parts of your life?
I do public speaking in different formats, right? I do public speaking when I'm talking to my kids in public and they're being little baby kids, right? I do public speaking when I'm attending a school board and I'm concerned about a particular curriculum that's being taught, right, at school. And then I do public speaking at work, whether that's through a workshop, an event, or even when I'm representing myself or a company. And so there's different forms of public speaking, and again, knowing your audience and knowing the message that needs to come across, where it needs to either be a decision making on the other end or even informative or education. I've learned, and this is something that I'm still learning, is I have a lot of emotion. I use my hands a lot, as you guys can see. And so I constantly have to remind myself that sometimes to the other person that may be intimidating and it may not be my intention at all. So I have to be a little bit more and there goes a filler word, right? Because I'm trying to transition. I have to be a little bit more conscious with the way my approach is. And so I feel that having these types of experiences, for good or bad, again, it's helping me reevaluate what I can do for the next time.
I really love that you say that public speaking is permeated throughout your entire life, right? It isn't just what you show the camera or what you post on Latinas with Masters. It isn't just what you do professionally. It's what you do when you're engaging with your kids. It's what you do when you're engaging in, wanting to have them learn what you think is best for them, right? It happens in all across our lives at all times. And I really love that you say that, because that's one of the things that I want to get across to everybody, is that we actually engage in public speaking more than we think we do. And so when we begin to recognize those moments as talking opportunities, as moments to speak in public, we'll start to feel a little bit more comfortable with public speaking and not make it be this thing that's crazy nervous, nerve wracking, right? And by the way, I use my hands a lot too. Video has made it a little different now because I can move my hands down here
Exactly.
and
That's
people
what
won't
I'm
see.
doing. I'm fidgeting.
Right, my legs shaking. Um, so thank you for sharing that piece there. And the theme of our conversation, or what I really want folks to understand, is how the correlations between public speaking and communicating effectively, and how you can create opportunities both for yourself and for your community. So, how has public speaking helped you as you create the spaces that you do?
I've learned a long time ago that I used to wait for my employer to tell me, Christina, you're going to talk at this event. Christina, I need you to go and, pitch a new proposal to a new business client. I need you to go visit a property and talk to the owners about the marketing strategies. And so I would wait to do those types of tasks or responsibilities. And I got tired of waiting because they didn't come around a lot. And so I felt that my experience was not coming up to standard and not as frequent as I wanted it to be. And so I started creating my own opportunities within Latinas with Masters. And I started to reach out to organizations and higher institutions of, hey, this is a great workshop that I can offer to your audience. And, here's my elevator pitch, right? And so again, I just, it's now second nature to me to create those types of experiences, because if you have that mentality that you're going to sit here and wait for your employer or for someone to tell you to do something that you're very passionate about, it's unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. You do have individuals, like Chats with Yvonne, that supports the Latinx community and first generation students, and allowing a platform to share that passion, but those are far few in between. And so that's why I'm able to create these workshops and create these types of speaking engagements, because I'm trying to get better at it myself. I definitely want to show something. And so when an organization or someone asks me, can you list, a couple of speaking engagements that you have done? I can't say, oh, well, my employer, unfortunately, due to COVID, which is, the number one thing now. No, I'm able to say, absolutely, through Latinas with Masters, I was able to, uh, assist X, Y, and Z, And so again, I think it's very important to realize and to identify what your comfort zone is, but then also be okay and challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone so you don't feel intimidated when Harvard or Yale or Brown University or someone that you're looking up to that you really want to land a deal with reaches out to you. Because the last thing I would want is for someone to say, I'm sorry, you don't have enough experience, or they feel that you are underqualified because there wasn't enough opportunities for you.
And what you just described is this cycle, right? A lot of us sometimes start with public speaking is nerve wracking. I don't want to do it. It's it's a field, an industry that I don't even want to touch. But you sort of describe this notion of realizing that actually, if I'm able to public speak, and when I do it, you create almost this loop of confidence, right? Where it's like, you start a little bit nervous, but you're like, hey, I can actually do this. And I'm talking about the things that I really love and I enjoy doing it. And it's creating space not only for myself, but for other people to be imperfect at public speaking, or to be imperfect in whatever our journeys are, but boost our confidence in our abilities, and knowing, yeah, we can do this. And these spaces aren't necessarily created for us, but we can create
Mhm.
them, and we can build a community off of that. So I
Exactly.
thank you for sharing that bit right there. And that leads me to my next question, which is one of my frameworks for mastering the art of public speaking is to reflect, to connect, and to share. And so, what things about your personal or professional experiences have brought you to this phase in your public speaking journey? You touched a little bit on it as far as my employer wasn't giving me the opportunities that I knew that I wanted or that I knew I needed to get better. But what sorts of things would you say now have really contributed to this phase of your public speaking journey, as I'm calling it?
When I started off in my career, public speaking, if we were to put it in an actual form, was showing apartments, meeting new people, and again, informing them about why they should live at, X, Y, and Z apartments. And then it transitioned when I was in my master's program. Now I'm speaking in front of an audience. You're speaking in front of your peers, which is sometimes harder, to be honest with you. I feel more comfortable speaking in front of strangers than my parents or my sister or someone that I have to inform something. Um, and so when I was in my master's program and I started to do speaking engagements in class for assignments, I would get nervous. And I noticed that I get adrenaline when I'm up there for it feels like an hour, but it's really 5 minutes, right? That you're talking. And then so I started to notice that about myself. And so I started to perfect that or find a way again, feeling confident and comfortable with doing those type of engagements. And then uh, going into my doctorate program, it's now learning the new vocabulary, new terminologies that I'm not familiar with because I don't work in higher education, but I do navigate those spaces as a mother who has two kids in, K through 12. And so again, sometimes when I am in class or I need to present something, it's hard for me not to have the mom hat on because I'm definitely, well, my daughter, and this is, so I have to come back and say, okay, I'm in front of my peers and my professor, and I'm doing, research on this particular topic. And so, again, what is my message and how can I come across this where they're listening to me? And you can always throw in a personal experience. I'm not saying it has to be just business, right? Or research, but you want to provide data and facts. And so that is something that I'm learning on top of my public speaking is, to have some background with the information that I'm providing because a lot of people don't just want to hear personal experience. Everybody has a personal experience, but let's back that up a little bit with some evidence-based data, right? Let's add some research with the type of information that you're providing. And so I feel that navigating those different spaces throughout my journey during that time has allowed me to reflect on, man, I could have done that a little bit better had I known to do it this way. Or even in job interviews, had I known that if I were to provide this information or this approach or apply my skills that are transferable into higher education, maybe I would have gotten the job. And so, again, going back to what you're saying about reflecting, it's so important to go back and reflect on past experiences because it's really going to help you shape and mold the way that you communicate in the future.
I agree. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable you become with actually what is that story that I'm telling and what facts will support what I'm saying. One of the first keynote presentations that I did, I I did well. I shared my personal experience, but then the next time that I talked about that same thing, I had more things to back it up because it's almost like one of those things, when you let it out and you just say it, you're like, I could have said that differently. You give yourself some feedback. And the next time that you come back to do it, you're more powerful and your story becomes that much more powerful and more credible and people can connect with it. Right. So a lot of what you've described is you do things once and you kind of just work at it until you feel comfortable with it. And it's this ever evolving thing, right? We may look at this chat later on and be like, damn, I should have said this, or damn, I
Mhm.
should have said, whatever it is. But that's the beauty of it. The more we do it, the better we become at it. And the more opportunities will open up, and one of the last questions that I want to ask you is, as you've opened up opportunities for yourself through public speaking and created those spaces for yourself, have you noticed that maybe more people are reaching out to you about things or are other like schools? Are they like, hey, come speak with us? So how has that looked for you? Because I really also want to stress the fact that public speaking can be a career, right? It is something that we can do on the side and engage in conversations, but eventually, and hopefully, if you want it to be, public speaking is something you can get paid to do, something that people will seek you out for. So have you noticed those things in your journey thus far?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had two situations where a student reached out to me that works in education, and then an actual director from a higher education. And when they meet me, because they see me through Instagram or they see me through other mediums. And so they only get a snippet of me. And
Mhm.
then so when I meet them on Zoom, right, which is our platform now, when I meet them in Zoom, they're like, wow, you are exactly what I thought you were, plus more. Or wow, I didn't realize that the message that you have about housing and higher education, it's so impactful. And so when I had the director of a higher institution meet with me, he was very honest, and he said, I decided to honor this meeting because I definitely would like to give opportunities to alumni and to individuals that want to give back to the community. But I'm going to be honest, I wasn't too sure what to expect with the information that you provided. But in listening to the way that you communicate the information to me, the passion behind the message that you're giving about wanting to help undocumented students with off-campus housing or whatever it was that we were talking about, he goes, you sold me from the moment that you literally spoke a word. And it was all in the way that I presented my public speaking skills. And then he said, I love everything about it. Do a 2-minute video and send it to me, and I will circulate it, through my platform. And so I was able to do that. And so even when hearing those confidence boosters, right, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. So this works, let's record this and let's do this. I now went to recording it, and I felt so much comfortable recording that 2-minute snippet video right after our call because I heard a lot of great feedback.
Mhm.
And so sometimes when you're in the moment, it's best to, okay, I'm gonna do that Instagram post. I'm gonna record this video. I'm gonna, do this workshop. Those are the best times where you're going to notice that the confidence boosters are going to align with your purpose and your message, if that makes sense. I think I just scrambled some words. I hope you guys understood that, but
No, and what a beautiful thing, right? To be one acknowledged for the passion that you bring to the table, but then for that to be sort of it serves as motivation to keep going, right?
Mhm.
That's one of my most favorite things about public speaking is you're talking when you are able to evoke your message with passion and people can see that. It's well, not only is it the most beautiful thing for you as an individual, but it's really important and beautiful for other people to connect with you in that way and to instantly be like, hey, this person has something that I didn't, you're putting things together and concepts together that maybe other people see as being separate from one another.
Separate.
And
Mhm.
you're able to bring those things together in this magical way through the spoken word. And it just makes me happy and I geek out about that kind of stuff. So thank you for sharing that story. I really appreciate it.
No problem. One thing I do want to share real quick, and it's something that I thought of talking to you about, was as I'm researching topics and research and data for my dissertation, I came across this article, and I apologize, I forgot the institution that this person did their dissertation in, but they did their dissertation in a spoken word. So instead of writing it traditionally 200-page dissertation, he did it through a music album. He wrote his entire dissertation on like recording songs.
Wow.
And that to me was like, now that's thinking outside the box, because his particular dissertation was about, I believe it was about hip hop and how hip hop has influence in education. That makes sense, right? To do an album, a
Yeah.
spoken word album, or a music album. But the way that he did it, I'm so intrigued to listen to it, because now that made me think in the way that I want to do my dissertation, or the way that I come across information, instead of just workshops or traditional media
Mhm.
that we do to inform. Now, I mean, look at now, we have TikTok, we have reels. You can
Yeah.
do a 30-second video, and you know my whole life story.
Yeah.
So definitely public speaking is giving me, the pathway to do that, because I would have never thought that that would be possible. And just seeing other people pay the way that way, I think it's just amazing to and very inspiring to look at.
No, totally, right? Our words can and are disrupting industries that, we didn't even think were possible to disrupt. They've been years in the making. And so I see the spoken word impacting businesses, impacting nonprofit spaces, impacting every part of our lives in very different ways, right? Especially right now where everything is virtual and we've been in this kind of strange way of communicating with one another. The way that we do decide to communicate is super important. So I love that you shared that, because the act of public speaking and practicing it can lead to even more creative thoughts. How can I express this in a way that, one of the things that people always say is, I don't want to sound like, I want to sound like I'm supposed to, right there. And then through public speaking, you realize there really isn't a way that you're supposed to sound. There's a way that you will sound as you, right? And so that's why I try to follow a lot of, yes, there's very traditional ways of doing things, but there's also new ways that you can adapt to sort of who you are and what your personality is. So I love that you said that. And so I want to leave people with, in the work that you do, and the different sort of things, worlds that you bring together, and the people that you bring together, why this and why now? Why what you do and why right now in this moment?
Well, I think just like everything else that we are dealing as a nation, there's a lot of things that should have been discussed or taken care of or changed yesterday, right? And when I think about my academic journey, I think about all of the challenges and the obstacles that I had to overcome to get to where I'm at today. And fortunately and unfortunately, they were with the help of people and not with the help of people. And so I'm very, very, very strong about, just because it was hard for me, it doesn't have to be hard for the generations that come after me, for my kids. And so Latinas with Masters it's literally more than just a degree or a diploma. It's a community, it's a movement. And just like me and you, we're here to pave the way. We're here to guide you with everything that we had to go through. Let's help you navigate those waters, so you don't have to overcome or go through the same obstacles as we did. So let's learn about financial literacy in advance. Let's learn about student loans. Let's learn about picking the right master's program, picking the right work experiences, so you don't have to. I have a lot of jobs under my resume, and sometimes I'm like, man, that is a lot, but I learned a lot, But if I'm able to help someone and say, hey, pick, these jobs that can help you with these transferable skills that you can take on for the rest of your life, I would that's exactly what my message is about. So um, Latinos with Masters right now, because I'm a doctor student, I'm a mother in academia, I'm a Latina in business, I'm a first generation Latina. There is just so much that there's a lot of narrative that is um, not really heard about through the spoken word, right? We read books and we get little snippets on TV, but social media is giving us that platform to share our narrative. And so I'm here to share my narrative, but I'm also here to share your narrative. Everybody, there's going to be something that's going to motivate you through someone else's experience. And so that is why I'm doing Latinas with Masters now. And I eat, breathe, wake up. Everything is Latinas with Masters. And so I appreciate everybody's love and support. And I appreciate Yvonne for providing me the opportunity to share her platform with me.
No, and I thank you for coming on here. And if you don't already, everybody go follow Latinas with Masters. I think what you just said is super important. You're sharing your narrative, but you're creating the spaces for other people to share their narratives too, because we connect differently with different people. And that's what's super important. And I appreciate your time today. And I hope that from our conversation, everybody has really understood how public speaking, the spoken word, can open and create opportunities for yourself, whether it's, hey, I want a career in public speaking, I can make great money off of this, or it's, hey, I want a career in public speaking, but I also want to motivate, inspire, and share my story with people. Christina, you've provided some incredible insight here, and I appreciate you for being on Chats with Yvonne.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.